You may or may not have heard it, but I just published a book that is based on the learnings over the last year of doing this podcast. And I want to take you behind the scenes because while it ended up going real well, I was just a bit of a disaster coming up to it, not gonna lie. And it's for a couple of different reasons that I want to share that I think has some real insights. Also, I want to give you the TLDR of the book. I want to just kind of tell you what it's about so that you make your own judgment whether you want a copy of it or you want me to mail you something or whatever, right? So strap on, because this is a story of curiosity, creativity, service, and a whole bunch of imposter syndrome.
Welcome to the Property Management Framebreakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go.
So let me first tell you the story behind the story. I was really close to having a book ready to be published by NARPM broker owner at the, back in, March, April, something like that. I decided that we just had too much going on and I stopped it. And so you think that if I was almost ready in April, this thing would have been a cinch. But I'm really glad that I didn't do it in April because most of the profound things that came out of this book happened in that period from NARPM broker owner to now. And that's why I'm really, really glad. I'm really proud with how it came out. I'm really happy with the information in there, how current it is. And, that's why I think it's important that you understand the way it's created. As you know, AI doubles in power every 6 months. We've talked about this on the podcast. We've talked about this idea that, if we think about Moore's law, right? This idea that technology doubles every 2 years. And that's why the rate of change of the world over the last, 30 years since personal computing has just changed so profoundly, right? We can think about where we are in 2005 and think about where we are in our business and ask ourselves, what were the decisions we were making then? In 2005, we were debating whether or not to advertise in the yellow pages or invest in a website. How different is the world? Pre-iPhone, pre-Facebook, pre-all of this stuff. And that is because technology doubles in power every 2 years. Now think about the idea that AI doubles in power every 6 months. That is 4 times faster. If you do the math, it is not unreasonable to think that just how different it felt to think about 2005, which feels like yesterday, and all the changes that have happened, 2030 will be as different technologically to today, 2025, as 2025 is to 2005, right? 4 times faster because it's every 6 months instead of every 2 years. And that's why this method of book creation for this moment is so important. The idea that somebody could spend 2 years researching AI to then spend a year writing a book, to then spend 6 months, getting it together and promoting it and then launching it is useless. Whatever you would get at that moment would be super old, right? If you started writing it 2 years ago, right? Like what I was going to put out at broker owner that I started from October to April is half of it is outdated because in the last 6 months, AI has doubled in power, right? So the way that this book was written, and I'm about to tell you the whole story of like the TLDR of the book, right? So that you know what it is, but I want you to understand this because I think it's profound. The way that this book was written was I have been consistently exploring the effect of AI on property management through this podcast, at trade shows, right? Recorded conversations, and vetting kind of hey, where's property management? What are the problems in it right now? How is it changing? Are these problems going to get better or worse? How does AI fit into these problems? Does it have, what is the problem that AI can solve and what's the new promise that it offers? How to actually build the business around it, change management, actually using it, understanding how it goes, And what are the ramifications of that, like wealth creation and what's coming next. I've been exploring all of that stuff on this podcast. I've then taken those transcripts, I've uploaded them to a custom GPT that knows my voice, knows my frameworks for communication, and I've been jamming with them to like suss out these ideas and writing this weekly newsletter that has close to 5,000 subscribers now and gets like a 50% open rate. I get, I get awesome messages all the time from that newsletter, and they're long. I don't know if you've seen it, but they're long, right? They're not like a 3-paragraph thing. They're like a 5-page thing. It's the complete antithesis of what everybody will tell you to keep it short. But these are well thought out spoken arguments in what we are seeing and what we believe people have wrong and what we believe people have right. And I'll get an email that's referencing like the second to last paragraph on the newsletter regularly, right? We also get 12 to 15 demos a month off the newsletter, right? Because it starts to really make sense to people when they start reading it, understanding, where the world is going. So I've been publishing that newsletter. Because I've been publishing that newsletter, I've been getting real-time feedback of like what's really real and what's just my idea. So now, 10 months later, I was able to group the newsletters that most resonated, that most made sense to people, that really helped folks into, like sections of the problem with property management today and the new promise, understanding AI, how to, adapt your business to the world of AI, what this means for wealth creation for entrepreneurs in the world of AI, and what's next. I then wrote an introduction. I wrote a table of contents that kind of like story tells of how all these things fit together. And then I wrote different introductions for the different pieces to make it all make sense, to make it all cohesive. But it's really meant to, like, you can pick up any chapter or anything like that, read it, you're going to get a good idea, you're going to get some aha moments. Really proud of it. I'll tell you the final conclusion here before we get off here. But as soon as I finished that book, man, I guess I've been writing it for like, almost a year. And then maybe 3 weeks ago, I spent about 15 hours of like late nights till like 3 a.m, finalizing it, putting it together, ordering it, arrived in the mail. I picked it up. I had this rush of emotion, like, oh my God, I'm an author. This thing is a legit book. And then I went into a complete tailspin of imposter syndrome. Who am I to write this book? Is this even a book, right? Is this a book? Is this just like republished newsletters? Did I even write this? Did I, I just told you the process, right? I co-wrote this with AI. Am I even an author? Should I be on the cover of a thing? It didn't help that, somebody called me a grifter and a shitbag online for putting this book out. You can imagine who that is. And I just went into this tailspin of imposter syndrome. But then I got to Narpa, Florida State, where this book launch was going to be, started talking to people, putting it in people's hands. They started getting aha moments. I had this like big presentation ready to go for it. I rewrote the whole thing based on the conversations I was having. And man, I'm so proud of it now. I'm really, I can tell people are into it. People like it. And we've run out of this like first edition that I printed. We're going to do a second release. So I'm going to do a wait list for that. So just, let me know, right? Like hit me up at Pablo at Vendoroo.ai if you want the second release. Because this thing's not going anywhere, right? Like this thing is clearly going to do really well over the next 6 months at least while all this stuff is relevant. So I think it's important to read it right now. That being said, here's the TLDR, the too long didn't read of the book. Property management right now is in a boom, right? Like it's growing, it's in a boom, it's kind of in a golden era. And it's also going through these massive changes of like regulatory pressures that are changing the rules of the game, generational wealth transfer that is changing the clientele, and AI, which everybody's going through, right? But in property management, right? In property management, what the promise of AI, the way that people are feeling the pain in property management right now is not feeling valued because they're buried in all these tasks and all these different things that they have to do. And the big problem is churn, right? The idea that I've talked to so many people that reach that 600 to 700 door barrier. And because you're just like growing with like 10% churn year over year, by the time you get to 600 doors, you got to land 60, 70 doors a year just to stay even, never mind growth, right? So like double that, triple that if you want to continue growing. The other choice is to acquire people that are doing the acquisition strategy. Again, talk to a bunch of folks. They're having like 20, 30, 40% churn in the acquisition strategy. That churn stuff is a real killer. It's a real demoralizer. It's not good for the client. And we have now the research that says owners want us to answer things faster. They want us to resolve issues faster. They also want more control. But for property managers, doing that is, it's an unfair ask. It's an unfair ask, right? Like right now, the current state of property management is you figure out the system that works the best for you, and then you got to go find clients that fit into that system, not the other way around, because it's so complex, because each different change, each different system requires so many little things, so many procedures that need to be built for every different variation. And then the human involved has to know all of these and has to keep them all in track. It's a burden on top of, the property manager that is really, really tough to deal with. So the best thing that you can do is build the box and have people fit in it. If they don't fit in it, get out. The new promise of AI is instant responses to things, right? It is 24/7 availability for your residents and your vendors for communication, troubleshooting, being able to like work through any questions and any issues before it gets to any kind of human at any moment. And that is shortening the times that work orders spend open, and the era of mass customization. We are now at the beginning. We're still on day one of AI, and we're already at the beginning where you can tell an AI, hey, next time that you're doing this thing, I want the process this way. And the AI can build a new process, ask you for who is this applicable to. You can tell it only for these people. And you can do that over and over again until you get to a point of mass customization, because AI is able to keep track of all these little things and handle the mundane details and just elevate it to you when it's not sure what it's supposed to do. And yes, we are in day one, but this thing is doubling rapidly, and this is already working for folks, right? Like we already have people that are at 85 to 95% levels of automation. So other people are going to figure it out. This is truly, truly happening. And this means that someone is going to build that thing that the customers have always wanted. But most importantly, when we talk about churn, we're talking about employee churn. If you Google property management memes, it is depressing. It shows people getting burnt out, and we have accepted this. The new promise of AI for property management is that we can give people fulfilling careers, and they don't have to go through this churn to give the market what it wants, right? Like they don't have to burn out. They don't have to like go through this meat grinder to give the market what it wants. So many of us are stuck in this like conversation of AI, and is AI going to replace jobs, and what's it going to do for humanity, and all these kinds of things. And I think that's really fair. If you work at a call center, there's many jobs that are really threatened by AI, and it's really going to make a big impact. But we're different in property management. We have jobs that right now are not designed to fit to the human scale. And so we've accepted all these like terrible effects that we have on our mental health and our team's mental health. But AI is able to fix that. In property management, while the rest of the world is talking about, are we going to replace jobs? In property management specifically, the promise of AI is that we're going to right size the jobs for people. AI is going to handle the stuff that makes it impossible, that makes your life miserable, that burns out your teams, and makes them, like disdain the work that they're doing and the clients that they're doing it for. And it's going to handle all of that like never-ending firefight and set your team up in a position to do the work that really fulfills them. That's the new promise of AI. That is what we talk about in this book from beginning to end. And I highly recommend that you check it out. I'm really, really proud of it. And shoot me an email to Pablo@Vendoroo.ai if you want to be put on the list for the second release. If not, we will have some with us at PMI Summit coming up, at RPM Reunion coming up, and at NARPA Nationals. Let me know you want.